This year's Canyon ISD Football Show is being brought to you by Nichole Thompson of State Farm. She's located in Amarillo. Now, she used to be the Hereford title sponsor, but then she moved to Amarillo, so she has taken over as the Canyon ISD title sponsor, and we do appreciate her being title sponsor of a show here again on the S2S Sports Network. Now, if you need insurance and you're out in Amarillo or around Amarillo, Nichole Thompson is who you want to talk to. She's located at 4722 Southwestern Street, Suite C in Amarillo. You can give her a call at 806-391-1033. Her mobile is 806-881-7881. Office hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. After hours by appointment. Of course, it's State Farm, so you know if you have an emergency, she will be there for you. You can also find her online at www.nicholethompson.com. You can also find her on Facebook. Just type in Nichole Thompson State Farm in the search. Now, we all know in these times finding something affordable is such a big deal, but having a good agent is just as important too. And the great thing is with State Farm, you can have both. You can have a great agent like Nichole who's going to help you do things like bundle your auto and home or your auto and a motorcycle or a boat. She's an agent that will guide you through all that and help you make the right decision on which coverages are perfect for you. You don't have to worry about the hassle. You don't have to worry about all the headaches. Nichole is going to take care of that. So again, price is important. Affordability is important. But having a good agent is just as important. And the great thing is with her, you have both. And we do appreciate her for being a title sponsor of the Canyon ISD Football Show here in 2023. 3 big wins for the Canyon schools and another big week ahead. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Nichole Thompson State Farm Canyon ISD Football Show right here on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. As the Canyon Eagles beat Andrews 35-14, Randall beat Dumas in a great game 14-13, and West Plains stayed unbeaten in district, or really started district unbeaten as they beat Seminole 48-23 in what really probably is the de facto district championship game. Grant Goodwin and I have sideline to sideline talked about that game. So here is us talking. And by the way, each and every week, Grant Goodwin and I talk 4A, 3A, and 2A football across this great state of Texas. And we have a lot of fun doing it. You'll hear the fun side of that here in a minute when we preview the Canyon versus Hereford game. Our title sponsor of this show, of course, last year, it was the title sponsor of the Hereford show. She moved to Amarillo, and so now she's the title sponsor of this show, and so we have a little fun with that. But before we get to that, here's what we had to say about the big win for West Plains over Seminole. Canyon West beat Seminole 48-23. That was the big last test for Canyon West in this playoff.
Yeah.
I mean, in this district. Mm-hmm. They're not going to level end's not going to do anything to them. Perryton's not going to do anything. I think Borger's having a solid year, but they're not going to do anything. They just lost to Pampa 2 weeks ago. They start their district this week against Seminole. But I mean, for Canyon West, this is why they played a tougher non-district schedule, losing to Bushland. Beating Canyon, beating Escotto. That Escotto game still, not that they beat them, but beating them 51-34. We said it last week.
I don't know about Escotto yet.
They're Region 1 good. They're Region 1 good.
I think so. Yeah, they are Region 1 good. But
every 4 years, they have a team that'll make it to the region semifinals or finals, and this is them this year, I think.
The jury's out.
I know, I agree. But for Canyon West, I don't think the jury's out, man. I think Reed making it quarterback, King Talent at wide receiver. We don't even talk about him enough. King Talent is an absolute stud out there, but the last few weeks they've gotten on top of teams so early that they haven't really needed to keep putting the pedal to the metal with their offense. This team in 4A Division II out there, watch out for them.
Oh, no.
Because there's not.
Definite region favorite.
Yes. Right? I mean, I think they're one of the two. And if you want to hear my answer to that question, go over and check out Sideline to Sideline, the Class 4A show. It's already up audio style. It will also be up on YouTube here soon. You can find us at our YouTube channel at L4 Media. Sorry about that little weird sound spike there. At L4 Media Company on YouTube. But that's how we felt about that game, and it was a huge win for West Plains. And as we talk about, West Plains is definitely one of the favorites in Division II, Region 1, at least right now. It's all about staying healthy at this point. Hey, big win for Randall. They've struggled. They had started the year off 3-1. They lost back-to-back games against two really tough teams. They got a really hard-fought victory against Dumas and really took a huge step forward in clinching the playoffs. Now, we all kind of really know where the playoffs or who's going to make the playoffs, but you got to go out and win it. And not only does it help them with a playoff game or clinch a playoff spot, it really helps as far as your seeding. You don't want to be the fourth-place team. And so they go out on the road against a Demon team that's young and not quite as athletic as they might have been last year. But I still think that was a quality win for the Raiders, and they get the big win. They this week will take on Pampa, and if you win this game, you have clinched the playoffs. And so for Randall, this game is just as important at home against the Pampa team that's 2-5. They lost their first district game against Hereford 44-13. On the year, the Harvesters, they started off with the big win against Big Spring, but then they lost to Plainview, Caprock, Decatur, Perryton, beat Borger 34-33 in a slight upset, and then lost last week to Hereford 44-13. The Harvesters, they've got some good size. They got a really solid running back in Max Neff, a really good linebacker crew. They just don't have a lot of team speed, and they just don't have a lot of athleticism. And that's kind of been the thing for them the last few years. And that's why they kind of end up always around 8-5, 8-5. I mean, 8-3, 6-5, 6-5. They were 9-3 back in 2019. That was the year they lost to Andrews in the playoffs. I remember that. They beat Gainesville. That was a weird first round game was them in Gainesville. I remember that. And I think that was kind of an upset. And them and Andrews got in that real big shootout, and Andrews ended up stretching it in the end. But anyway, I do that sometimes, walk down memory lanes. But, for Randall, this is a winnable game. This basically assures your playoff spot. And then, of course, Canyon, they have let's go to West Plains first, because we'll finish with Kevin. West Plains, as we talked about, they have Levelland. The Lobos are 2-5, 0-1 in district. They lost last week to Perryton 41-18. Their win on the year, their two wins on the year is to beating Lubbock and San Angelo Lakeview. They got destroyed by Estacado 62-9. And that right there should tell you about where this game is. West Plains will be able to name their score. Again, last week's game against Seminole, for all intents and purposes, was the district championship. Now West Plains just has to take care of business. They have a game in hand as far as over the second place team, beat everybody else. Perryton might be a little bit of a trouble. They're on bye this week. Their next game is actually against West Plains. I don't really think it's going to be that big of a trouble for West Plains. But in theory, that could be your second toughest test in 248 Division II. All right, we're going to end it on Canyon at Hereford as we talk about, Hereford. We know them very well from doing a show last year. They were 1-9. They've really turned it around this year. They're 6-1 with their only loss being to West Plains. And so, Grant, you're going to get to hear a little bit of everything in this one. Sideline to sideline, we've been doing this for 16 years. We talk a lot of football, but we also have a little fun. We make some jokes, and we have a coach that likes to write in, and we call him Coach X. And so you're getting a little bit of all that in this. But inside of it, we're also giving you our picks on who we think is going to win, Canyon versus Hereford.
Canyon versus Hereford.
Yeah, both. Canyon 5-1.
They're only lost to West Plains. Yep. Right. Hereford 6-1. Hereford on the year has been the surprise of West Texas 4A football, going from 1-9 last year to up until they lost to West Plains 2 weeks ago. They were 4-0 at the time, or 5-0. And that was a competitive game. They lost 42-21, but they had 380 yards of offense, if I remember correctly. They did some good things. And more importantly, for a program that has struggled, they bounced back the very next week against a team that they should beat, and they did in Pampa 44-13, which basically locks up their playoff spot.
Yeah, and a lot of this Hereford turnaround comes from their quarterback. Caleb Ramirez has thrown for 1,200 yards, and he's got really good receivers in Nick Torres and Brylan Lopez.
Yeah, and this is a really young team. They were young last year. They took their lumps. They've come back, and I never would have thought we'd be saying that in week 2 of district, Hereford would have basically – and if they lose all their games, and of course they don't, but I don't think them and Pampa, if they end up on the same level, they I think this is basically puts them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And here they are the rest of the week playing, or rest of the season playing for seeding. And I don't think it's too crazy to say that they beat Canyon or Dumas, especially Dumas. Hereford might be a third place team or second place team.
I think they'll blow the doors off Dumas. To be honest
Dumas
with you, I think their big game here is against Hereford. Canyon's 5-1. Their quarterback Boston Bell has been really good. Trip Wright at receiver for Canyon, one of the best receivers in 4A out in this region. So this Hereford defense is going to be up against it.
Yeah. Who do you like in this one?
I like Canyon close. I think this is in Hereford, right?
Yeah.
So I think that makes a little bit of a difference, but I like Canyon. I think Hereford's just a year early, even though they've only got one loss and they're running a 6-1 record, and it's great. And I think Hereford's still good, but I think Canyon comes out on top on this one.
You know, the funny thing is we always use scores not to calibrate, to compare though. And so Hereford got beat by West Plains. Their only loss 42-21. Canyon got beat by West Plains. Their only loss 48-21.
Oh,
I mean, you want to talk about a true calibration? That's it right there.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's see what Coach X has to say. Dude, big time West Texas smash mouth matchup here. Most unique mascot in the nation, the White Faces. Just clarification. They are talking about cows, right? Okay, good. You know, there was that a couple years ago. Somebody didn't understand what that White Faces, and they made a big thing of it, and it kind of got viral. And then everybody's like, it's a cow, folks.
I'm rolling my eyes right now. I'm rolling my eyes on YouTube.
Okay, good. Hey, did you know there's a school in Michigan or something that has a mascot that is the Nimrods? I have never heard somebody else being called a Nimrod without adding the F word in front of Nimrod.
Crazy. You know there's a Nimrod, Texas, right?
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Where
at? Out. Is it by San Angelo?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Crazy world we live in these days.
You kind of just brushed me off right there. Oh, really? Cool. All right.
This is what I'm talking about, folks.
No, I mean,
y'all
look
think,
at the maps.
Y'all think
there is a Nimrod, Texas.
I'm not doubting you in any
I thought
way.
that would elicit a little bit more of a response from you.
Everybody that thinks this is all fun and games. Oh, you get to talk football. Y'all don't have to deal with him, and y'all don't have to deal with him.
Y'all don't have to deal with him either.
All I'm trying to do is talk football, man. Talk football.
Okay. Good points.
So is Nimrod, does it have a school system? Now I'm curious. Thanks a lot, Ass.
No, I don't think they do.
Oh, okay.
But there is a Nimrod, Texas.
That's cool. All right. Let's now go to...
So who do you pick?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is actually pretty funny. Let's see. Crazy world we live in these days. Give me, whisper voice as he looks over both shoulders, White Faces. So he's going with Hereford. I'm going with Hereford too. I think Hereford wins this game. Look, I like Canyon. I just think Hereford's, man, at home. Hereford's always been a really good football town, but they've struggled the last few years. This year, they're not. Hometown advantage, giving me Hereford. And a slight upset. I mean, it's a 2-point spread, so it's not a big upset.
Isn't that where one of our sponsors was at?
Well, that's where she was last year. She's now in Canyon. So I'm actually going against the title sponsor. So Coach X and I are going Hereford. Grant's going Canyon. I think this is going to be a wonderful game. I legitimately am going Hereford. The underdog story, them being at home, it's going to be a great crowd. This is that huge second step for them. They basically got the step they needed by beating Pampa. Assuming Pampa doesn't upset anybody, Hereford's, basically clinched that playoff spot. Now they're looking to punch up to get off that 4th place spot, to get to 3rd, maybe to 2nd. And maybe win the district. And so I'm going with the White Faces in what would be I guess, I don't know, with it being at home, I almost feel like Hereford might be a favorite, or maybe Canyon's a 1 or 2 point favorite. But I'm going to go with the White Faces. Grant's going to go with Canyon. Coach X went with the White Faces. And there you go. You get an idea of what the Sideline to Sideline 4A show is all about. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments for this show or that show, email them to me, Terry at S2Ssport.com. That's our Sideline to Sideline email, Grant and Terry at S2Ssport.com. Email either one of those with questions about either Canyon schools or 4A, and we will answer it. That's week 8 in the books, folks. Playoffs are right around the corner. Week 9,
We'll talk about it next week right here on the Nichole Thompson State Farm Canyon ISD Football Show on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media.